Hi, I'm Chuck Gilmore with Power to Sing Live number 106. Welcome. Today we're going to talk about head voice and mix and when do I sing in head voice and when do I sing in mix. Hi, everybody. This is a question that I got this week, and I thought it was kind of a strange question. Then I started thinking about it and realized that, in fact, this can be kind of a confusing thing. So we're going to talk a little about that today, and by the end of our session, you're going to be like in the know. So head voice and mix. Where does it start, and where does one start, and where does the other one begin? Do you know that question? Well, you're going to know the answer to that in just a few minutes. So I want to welcome you here today. I started a little bit late. Usually I have a pre-show show, but not today. So I want to say hi to Gary. Hey, nice to have you here, Gary. And Arthur. All right. I'm doing okay. Tuchooks, hias. Subia, hello, Subia. Nice to have you here today. Gary says he's back. Mike, nice to have you here. Now, so let me ask you this question, you guys. Do you know where your head voice, do you know where mix ends and head voice begins? You know where that is in your voice? It's different for guys and girls. For the ladies and gentlemen, it's a different spot. Do you know? Just yes or no. Just let me know in the comment section. Yes or no, I do know. Because it can be a little bit confusing. And so I want to be able to really kind of clarify some of that today while we're talking. And it should kind of be a little more clear. So Mike says, yeah, I never know what to use starting around the E, F, F sharp. So, you know, this is a question that I don't think early on in my study of this particular technique that I ever really gave much thought, but it's come up a few times. So I want to really hopefully clarify some of the things that that's important about this. Okay, so Gary says yes. Good. Mike says yes. RFTW, no. Subia, yep. Okay. So there's several of us who know. And so this might be a little bit of review, but I also think that as singers, we find ourselves a little bit confused about when do we start into leaving mix and going into head, and especially coming back down again. I find that to be rather challenging for different reasons. The ladies have one particular challenge coming down, and the guys have a particular challenge coming down. They're usually not the same. We could talk more about that in a minute. So great. So Mike's biddy four says my newfound head voice feels weaker there. Very strong higher though. Yeah, you're going to find, everyone, that as you're working on your mix and then you get up into head voice, it gets stronger. The head voice starts feeling stronger the further away from your bridge that you get. It's consistent time after time after time. First time I remember singing for Mr. Seth Riggs in a workshop I was in many, many years ago, 1997. I sang Maria, and I landed on it was like a Maria, and I said, ah. I was wide. I didn't know. I was just thrilled that I could sing the F. And he said, all right, now Maria, and I said, Maria. I said, no, Maria. And then he said, Maria, Maria. And so I did it, Maria. And so I sang that, and he said, you notice it gets easier the higher you go. Well, that's when that's the first time I've ever heard something like that, and it was easier the further I got away from the bridge. So you're going to find that it's a little bit wishy-washy sometimes, a little weak. there closer to the bridge. And so as you go right into your head voice from the bridge, we'll talk more about that, it is a little bit lighter, and then it seems to get better and stronger the further up you go. So that's a very good observation, and many of you will experience that. So Lisa, hi Lisa, nice to have you here on part of the replay. Yeah, so no, this is actually a live. I'm not sure if you're wondering if this is a replay or not, but we are live at this moment, Lisa. Maybe I misunderstand, but so welcome. Nice to have you here today. Okay, everybody, so let's get down to a couple things here, because this is something that can make a big difference for us, and it's confusing. And I got the question this week from a subscriber or commenter on my YouTube channel. Really was kind of confused. When do I use my head voice? So there was just a little bit of confusion. And when do I stop singing mix, and when do I go into head voice? Or do I not do head voice at all, was I think the question that he asked. And so I could tell that there was some confusion there. So have you ever been singing and suddenly felt like a shift or a big change in the sound as you were either going up or coming down? Usually it has something to do with the transition between chest and mix, or mix and head voice, or in some cases pulled up chest into either falsetto, or maybe you're lucky enough to get into head voice but you don't really ever do a mix. We've probably all experienced that, and it's awkward. So let's first of all, let's talk about a couple things here. Number one, why does it matter? Why does this even matter? Well, we don't want to be singing along in our song and all of a sudden have this big shift in our sound. And people look up and say, wow, it sounds like somebody else started singing. No, it's the same person, but like they have two different voices. That's the objective of all of this, is so that it's one of the objectives, is so that our voice is one voice. So we sound like ourselves no matter whether we're singing high, whether we're singing low, whether we're singing in the middle, that it sounds like our voice naturally all the time, and a great sound no matter where we're at. And so this really kind of is the nuts and bolts. It gets right down to the brass tacks of what we're trying to do with our singing. So I think it is important. You don't want to disrupt your song. You don't want to have this sudden shift. You don't want it to be incorrect. You don't want to have it suddenly like give out or suddenly slam into like a big chest sound or whatever. So these middle areas here can be confusing. So where does mix begin? Where does the mixed voice begin for us guys? Typically, for most gentlemen, unless you're like a basso profundo or basso cantata or something like that, a real deep bass, we start bridging at or our mix begins at the E above middle C. And for the ladies, it begins just a little bit higher than that. For most ladies, unless you were a true contralto and a very deep voice, for the typical alto soprano voice, your mix begins at the A. There's the E for the guys, and there's the A. It's where the ladies' mix should begin. And to be brief, the mix is a blend or a mixture of the chest and the head voice. So that means the upper resonance, probably the more accurate term is the upper vibration that starts to activate in the head is a part of a vibration that's still down in the mouth and chest. And so those things have to go together at the same time. And if they don't, then we have either all chest kind of vibration, or we have a sudden switch into a really lighter place. A lot of times, if it's pulled up chest, it can like break right into falsetto. But if we're going into to our mix, we want that to be a blend of chest and head. So an example of that would be now, I'm kind of exaggerating it because in reality, we can approach the bridge by having a slight narrowing of vowels so that it's not abrupt. Here's an abrupt entry into the mix. Sorry. So we want to start to narrow a little bit on the approach to that first E, or ladies, that first A, that beginning note in your mix. So we glide into it. We don't slam into that transition. Now, with that, assuming that we're mixing, that we get head voice and chest voice going at the same time, where does mix end and where does head voice begin? Gentlemen, in this same area, if your bridge starts, if your mixed voice starts at the E above middle C, then it goes F and F sharp. So at the G is where we are all the way through our first bridge and now in head voice. The G4, it would be. That's the G above middle C. For the ladies, if your mix starts at the A, B flat, B, C, C sharp, you're pretty much all the way through, but I'm going to say D. Now, here's where it gets a little bit different. Ladies, they don't have as much chest voice as we do. Most of us guys may have a couple octaves of chest voice, and a lot of the ladies have a couple octaves of head voice. So because they have more room above their first bridge, it's a little bit different for them. This D, this C sharp, that's the octave above middle C sharp. The D, the E, the E flat, the E, the F, and the F sharp is not yet just pure head voice for the female voice. It is the G5 above, so middle C, the C5, and then if the head voice for the ladies begins, the pure head voice begins on the G above, that's the G5. So you have another bridge, the E, F, F sharp 5, ladies, that's not purely head voice. Whereas as guys, our second bridge is head voice also. That's our second bridge is where your first is, the A, B flat, B, 4, and the C5. That's the men's second bridge typically. And so we're in head voice as we're in our second bridge. For you ladies, there's another kind of zone. It's still a bit of a mix. Now there's obviously, with every note you ascend, there's less and less of the chest, but there's still that area. Sometimes, I've heard different descriptions of this area of the female voice, but many times it's just called a middle, your middle. But it's not just pure head voice. There is some element, some overtones of chest that are still present. But once you hit the G5, then it's just head voice. Okay? So, now that we've got that out of the way, we're going to talk in a minute more about, well, when do I sing in head voice versus mix. So any other comments here? Let me just say hi to Jorge. Nice to have you here, Jorge. Thank you for joining us. Lisa, it's great. I had to rewind. Okay, so you are live with us, Lisa. Yeah. Great topic. In soprano, I do hit the high key, but I am afraid that if I say the word to stay on the key, but I am afraid that if I say the word to stay on the key, but want the word heard. Okay, so let's talk a bit about now. I want to talk. There's really two issues here: going up the scale and coming back down. So going up, we get into our we're going from chest, we get into mix. That's a combination of the chest and the head. So if you got that blend area, and then the ladies, you're not exactly in head voice yet, but you have less and less of the chest as you go higher until you hit that G5, and then you're in head. Your big issue is coming back down, the transition down into, but I suppose it could be the same going up. If you go in early, in other words, technically speaking, us guys, we certainly don't want to be pulling the chest voice up, and neither do the ladies. We don't want to pull chest voice up. So we want to get into our mix, and then when we get to the top of that area and into our head voice, we want to be there. So I guess there's some concern that, well, if I pull mix too high, then I really am kind of pulling an element of chest too high, and we don't want to do that. I am going to contend that ascending higher, I don't think we have to worry about that too much if we're doing the right thing in the bridge. If we're pulling in the bridge, or in other words, if the larynx is high and we've got too much chest in that mix, then I think we could err in that we're pulling the chest, or we're pulling mix too high. So if I said, I don't know if I could even illustrate this. If I open the vowel a little bit, maybe I'm gonna pull a little more of the, it's gonna be basic. It's hard, if I want to illustrate like pure mix, then I'm gonna be okay. I guess that's what I'm saying is, if I get that bridge down correctly, I'm not going to have a problem transitioning between my mixed voice and head. It's just going there. It's a physical property. The vibration is getting faster with each note as I ascend, and it's going to resonate in the place. If I just stay out of the way and don't grip or grab it, it's going to go in the right place. Okay? I don't have to put it any place. It'll just go there, which is kind of remarkable about the way this technique works. It's self-placing. Now, if I don't do it right, what happens to the beginning then of head voice? So if I have too much chest, even though I've got some head voice in that, I'm pulling, it's too much chest being pulled, that transition is really not going to, coming into head voice isn't going to happen. So E, F, F sharp, if I get those right, then I just keep doing the same thing. So I don't do anything differently because I've done it right in the bridge. Okay? Ladies, it's pretty much the same for you. even though you're not going into your head voice as early as us guys do following our first bridge. If you're doing it wrong in the bridge, in other words, if there's too much of a pulled chest, and I guess another way of doing it wrong would be, and so I didn't even actually let go there. I just went into a light, very, very light, uh, light head voice, actually. I can still disconnect that, but it's very, very light. So I suppose that could be a mistake that you could make, and you definitely, but I don't think you really want to let go and go into that very light place in your bridge. Now, if I said, I'm not talking about loudness per se. I'm talking more about vocal cord coordination. And so even if I'm in just a light mix, I'm still going to go into head voice. Light in terms of volume. And if I'm in the, so you may not hear that, you probably won't hear the transition. If we're doing this right, we don't really hear the transition. So my comment to you is, if we get that bridge correctly and keep that vowel appropriately formed, so that it's not going wide and splatting, we're not going to pull the larynx up or get into or pull chest. And if we don't disconnect in the falsetto, then we just keep doing the same thing as we ascend into the second bridge and either into head voice for the guys at the G5, ladies through your second bridge to the G4 for the guys, G5 for the ladies. You just stay in the same coordination, and that transition becomes natural, because you don't have to think about placement or am I doing it right. Even if it's a lighter volume, the coordination of the chord structure and everything else is appropriate, is correct. Let me just take any comments here. I want to talk about descending. I think that's really more of a challenge for many of us than ascending. Okay. All right, so Maxim Rosell, hi, nice to have you here. Would you say that between the first and second bridge, it is head voice for men, and after the second bridge, it's pure head voice? So, Maxim, I would say that, okay. At the F sharp, at the top of the men's bridge, right there, the G starts head voice, but we're in the approach to the second bridge of the men's voice. So our second bridge is all in head voice, and the first note, that G4 and the A flat 4, is an approach into the second bridge, but we're in head voice already. So head voice and approach to the second bridge, and now I'm in second bridge and I'm also in head voice. So that's an interesting question. Thanks for asking that. Now, for the ladies, though, after they are through the first bridge, they are in a second bridge. They enter into the approach to the second bridge and the second bridge, and are not fully into a pure head voice like us guys are in our second bridge. They go all the way through that second bridge, and then they go into pure head voice. Then the A, or the G5, the A flat 5, and then the beginning of the third bridge, that's the A5, B flat, B5, C6. Those, of course, are all in the women's head voice. want to make sure I got that right. Would you say that between the first and second bridge, it is head mix? Head mix. No, it's called the approach to the second bridge, but it is in head voice. And after the second bridge, it's pure head voice. So I hope that clarifies that. Lisa says, yes, those are the notes. Mike says, is singing F sharp G in chest too high? Yes. Yeah, so let's talk about that. It's always okay to bring mix down even lower. It's okay to, and we're not talking about descent yet, but as a foreshadowing, it's okay to bring the mix down. It's all right. It's never okay to pull chest high. It's never okay. You're always going to abuse. It's always going to be an impact on the chord structure, and it's always going to affect the resonance qualities and the overtones and so forth. So it's okay to bring your mix down. Now the question is it okay to bring head voice down? And I want to address that particularly with the female voice. Don't see it much with the guys, but with the female voice, I see it frequently that they tend. Well, before I get to that, let me answer a couple questions. Lisa says it goes lower. Okay. Ink says, hi Chuck, how do I sing a cappella without going out of tune? Off topic. I'll get back to that if I can. Lisa, I see, I've got it. I'll try it. I didn't have to go to work. If I didn't have to go to work now, kids have to go home. Okay. Lisa, nice to have you with us today. Yeah, glass breaking. Okay, so let's talk about coming down, because I think that's as much a challenge for us all as anything. So what I see happening a lot with guys as they are coming down, if we're saying, that's the G, F sharp, mix, mix, you know, oh my goodness, chest voice, it feels so good. I think that that's not the best way of getting back into your chest. Okay, so yes, I don't see guys bringing down head voice into mix much. It feels like that, guys. I know, especially when you're first starting to work with mix, it's hard to get much presence in the E, F, F sharp. Give it some time, it'll come around. But at first, it's going to, at first you're probably going to feel like you're just bringing head voice down. Now, I don't know exactly I don't know if I could actually say, oh yes, you are, or whether you're just in a very light mix and you're just going to have to keep working that to get that coordination to get that to work. So it takes a while to get that kind of bite. So as you're descending, I think if you're going to err, you can err on the side, guys, on the side of maybe a little bit too light, but not letting it go in the chest until you start getting below the E. And even on the E flat, let it come in gradually. So here's the E. Watch out for You don't want to just slam into chest. Let it come in gradually as you're working it. You can be in the chest. I mean, that's the middle C. So gradually, little by little, bring that chest in. On the exercises, when you're singing, it really the same kind of thing. It's all right to bring mix down if you need to, because it might just make it the transition so much smoother in your song. But to slam into the chest coming down from head, from mix, and then to chest, to go in abruptly, it feels abrupt. So you want to let that come in by degrees, little bit at a time, little bit at a time, and just watch out that you don't land on, it's like, like you're riding the parachute down and everything's going just fine, and you see chest voice down there, so you drop out of your chute and slam down the last 20 feet, You don't. You want to come in and land gently into chest. It's just better singing. Okay. Now, ladies, your challenge is a bit different here. I see this happen a lot. Once you get down to your A, the beginning of your bridge, ma 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 ma. Now, yes, I do see a lot of some singers going heavily into chest right at the A flat. More often, however, ladies, I see you kind of, what I'm hearing is an uncertainty about, do I keep bringing, it actually just sounds like, frankly, it sounds like you're bringing head voice down too low. So your mix starts, you don't even hear the chest. I'm just hearing this lighter sound. And maybe that's the same thing for the guys. It's just, but this is actually below the ladies' bridge. I hear this lighter sound in the men's bridge when they're new singers. In the ladies' voices, I don't hear it so much in the bridge as much as I hear it right around the G, G4, F sharp 4, F, E. Sometimes this is so difficult for the ladies to let go of head, or even a head mix. It almost doesn't even feel like mix to me. It just almost feels like head voice, or sounds like head voice. So, ladies coming down, I'm going to say that you want to gradually, as the gentleman, you want to gradually bring your chest voice in. Mum, 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 mum. So you've got a blend of chest and head. Mum, 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 mum. Mum, 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 mum. Now, you've got to start letting that chest come in. And depending on on your song, you may find, and this is, I think, varies between songs, you may find you need to have more of that chest there. Mum, 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 because whatever the word is, it doesn't feel right unless you've got a strong chest presence on the F or the G. I find very infrequently that you need a whole lot of chest on the A flat. So again, let it come in gradually, but let it come in. It's got to start coming in on each of these descending notes. Otherwise, what happens? You get down here and it's ma 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 ma. It's just the bottom falls out. Ma 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 ma. So I think if you're going to err, it's better to err on a little bit more chest. Ma 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 ma. And then ladies by the E, I very, very, very infrequently do I find that being fully in chest on the E is too much. Usually I find I'm hearing not enough chest established by that E, and a lot of times the F. Some of it depends on the age. If it's a high school sophomore, her voice it's just hard to, there's not quite the depth sometimes in the voice, and so it's really hard to get there by the F sharp, F, E. I mean, it's just, but you've got to start getting back down, leaving that mix, the head voice, and for the ladies, there's not much, once you're down below the G5, anything down below there now is still going to have element of chest all the way down to the A, but a head voice all the way, a little bit of head voice. Well, let me see, how do I say that? Yeah, so there's some chest, head chest mix all the way down. And then when you get to the A flat, you really want to start A flat 4, the right below the first bridge. You want to start gradually getting into that. So I think that's much more of a challenge. I'd be curious if those ladies who are with us here today, if anyone's still around. Lisa had to do some run some kids to school or go pick them up. But if there are any of you left here, do you experience this when you're coming down from the higher register down below the first bridge? Do you struggle sometimes letting that head voice and the mix voice be replaced by more and more chest, so that by the time you get to like the F sharp, F, E, 4, the E above middle C, the E flat, that you're still struggling to get into your chest? Be curious about that. I think the answer is going to be yes. So we want to be able to get all the way, we want to be fully into that chest area. All right, so let me just take any other comments here. And going back up to Ink King, his question about a cappella. How do I sing a cappella without going out of tune? I don't know what to tell you, Ink. It's ear training. And so I would say, number one is, if you struggle with that, I would go online and I would do several courses and there's plenty of free things online. And if you search ear training, you want to be able to sing. If someone said, "Hey, sing a fourth," "Here comes the bride, bum bum ba-dum." If they say, "Well, sing a fifth," la da ba 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 bum. So you've got to know what the intervals are. How about a minor third? Da da dee da da dee. And these are all intervals that also are well-known songs. Like that's Brahms' lullaby. So there are some intervals in famous songs that can help you learn, and train your ear. Madi, the sixth, and there's some others intervals that you learn. You've got to be able to hit those. And if you can't hit those, I think it's really rather challenging to sing a cappella and stay on pitch. So if you memorize the song, going over and over it with the singer, and then continue singing it in either a cappella or in a karaoke track, and hopefully you can stay on it. But if not, I think it's probably a matter of ear training. The other thing is you've got to just do a lot of singing, a lot of singing. I'm curious, anybody else has any suggestions on that? When I sing with the piano, I sing in tune. When there's no piano guitar playing, I start singing out of tune. Yeah, so that's a challenge, and so it takes a lot. I sang when I was young with my brother. We had a little record player, and we had a little is it the 45? Yeah. And so we played that thing. We had one or two songs. We played all day long. We'd sit there and sing and sing and sing. And we knew those songs by heart. But singing with them, I think, helped us kind of develop our ear. It's just hours and hours of singing. If you have a tendency to get a little lost on that, then I think that the ear training is going to enhance that a little bit. Let me see, was there another question? Chuck, my teacher told me that I've been singing with a high larynx for 8 years, and it has caused me to have no depth in my voice. what does no depth in the voice mean? So really, it's if the larynx is high, then there's some missing overtones. And so if I've got my larynx up a little bit, I'm kind of illustrating that by pitch too, but if I've got the larynx up, when I come down to sing, I can't get my chords together if the larynx is high. So if the larynx down, and one way to get it down is is do that dopey sound because it pulls the larynx down. You do that for a year or two. It takes a while. The larynx starts to rest lower. It starts to be a lower resting larynx, and you get more depth in your voice. It's happened to me through the years. Of course, I'm aging, and that's also a factor. But if I said, now I notice this a lot when I'm in an ensemble, in a musical. If I'm in the ensemble and I oversing and I start pulling the larynx up, when it goes to hitting the low note, I don't have it. It's not there. When normally I can do that. So I think, oh, I've been over-singing. My larynx is up and I don't have the bottom. That's one aspect of it. I can't get as far down. The other aspect of it is I'm missing some overtones that give me some depth in the voice. I can feel the larynx still up after just illustrating that. Try intervals, things like that. Any singing that you do is going to benefit as long as it's on pitch. Hey, Franco, nice to have you here today. Cinciarelli, I love your last name. I don't know if I said that right. But love it, Franco. Do you think it's possible to be an opera singer and a pop or a rock singer at the same time? I mean, do you know people who can sing both? Go watch a bunch of Michael, what's his name? Oh, heck. It'll come to me in a minute. Yes, there are people who do both, and you have to be the judge of it. The opera purists probably hate his opera, and the rock people may not appreciate it. But is it Michael? Hold on a second. Okay, so I'll tell you who it is. I'll tell you who does this. I think it's Michael. Let me just get to it here. This is book Singing for the Stars. And, well, would you know it? It's not in the first part of the book. This is the old edition of Singing for the Stars. Anyway, he does both. And he thanks Seth Riggs for helping him do that. Gosh, I could see him. Blonde hair. I think he's my age. He's 65, if I remember right. Oh, heck. Doggone it. I'm sorry I can't pull it up immediately. Keep thinking I'm going to run into his testimonial here. But I'll just do this while we're talking here. So Mike says, Biddy 4, I am still dealing with head voice sounding a bit too light. I'm going to post a video to show what I'm doing now. You know, Michael, I would say probably for me, it took me about, as far as getting my head voice sounding stronger, it probably took me about 10 years. So I'm trying to help students find it faster, but sometimes it just is what it is. You just have to, you know, it's just, it's like being a swimmer. You know, it takes years of getting and perfecting your stroke, and then one day, like, you know, all of a sudden you're swimming, you know, a half a minute faster. It's just one of those things. I haven't figured out yet, really, how to get that to go so much faster. Okay, so here you are listening to me turn the pages of this thing, and Michael. Ah. Okay, well, it is possible to sing both. That bugs me. I got it in the other room, but I don't want to leave I don't want to completely leave you here. It's in the newer book. Um, Let me see here. And there's so many names here that were trained by Seth Riggs, and I need to know his last name, and I can't think of his last name. How embarrassing. Okay, so Ink says, how does a book teach someone how to sing when a book doesn't have vocal exercises or stuff like that? Yeah, that's a good question. In the book Singing for the Stars by Seth Riggs, Singing for the Stars. Now, this is my original one. I've got a, see, this is what I used when I first started out, is the tapes. Now they're CDs. This one I bought back in 1990. This is like the 94 edition. I've got a newer edition now, like the 2004. But these have exercises and CDs and tapes. But yeah, just reading a book, you can read so much information. Like I've got a book called Voice of the Mind, and it's got so many great things about vowels and about, I don't know. It's amazing. It's an amazing book. And so I've come to understand that you can learn a lot about singing. Sometimes you read something there that clicks, and you relate to it because you felt it, and you all of a sudden understand something new. And it does help you. It helps you to be a better singer. Hey, Auntie, nice to have you here. We're actually just about ready to wrap it up here, but I think today was a pretty good session, some good questions. Would you guys just don't go away? I'm going to run into my office and grab my other book, and I'll answer this question that Franco had. Don't leave. I'll be right back. Okay, here I am. It's this book right here. Okay, this is the newer edition of Singing for the Stars, and the person that I'm trying to think of that sings both opera and Michael Bolton. Sorry, Michael Bolton. He sings both opera, and he said not long ago I had the honor of performing with Luciano Pavarotti at a benefit concert in his hometown. It was, of course, a most inspiring event. When he returned to the United States, I contacted my friend and mentor Seth Riggs, who introduced me to incredible bel canto usage of the voice that I first heard Pavarotti use in Modena. So he said, expanding my voice and taking it to new operatic levels has meant a lot of diligent study, but the result has been phenomenally rewarding. My fans embrace my performances of the arias and I've added to my concerts. And I'm currently in the process, this is some time ago, but recording arias. So yeah, pretty awesome. Michael Bolton. And I've heard him sing. So it's fun. It's fun to hear it. Follow-up question here. Let me see, from Franco. Thanks a lot. Do you mean, I shouldn't have left. It is Michael Bolton. Good. Thanks, Franco. It's finding the mix exercise is very useful. So, yeah, Mike, you knew that a bit before. Yeah, I needed your help. Michael Bolton. Okay, everybody. Thank you for joining me today. This is a little bit of a esoteric thing because if you're not doing chest mix and head voice already and are familiar with bridges, this is kind of advanced, a little bit, it might be a little bit difficult for a newer singer to comprehend. But it is something that's important. And hopefully this has helped clarify that. So last question here. Why do people say if you could sing opera, you can sing any genre in the world? You can't. It's not true. If you've heard Pavarotti sing pop songs, that answers your question, right? He doesn't sing pop uh, like a pop artist does, or rock like a rock artist does. And probably the truth is that you know, if Michael, it's the truth of Michael Bolton doing opera, he's probably not going to be hired by an opera house, but he certainly can entertain his fans with it, and he can certainly derive tremendous joy and pleasure from singing a different genre. But I think they're referring, there's people will say that because they feel as if you've learned how to sing opera, then you should be able to learn how to do any kind of singing. I don't particularly agree with that. I think you can sing anything, and maybe that's what they're referring to. Um, but I have also seen, I've had people that come to me and say, I want to get into more of the musical theater, and I want to get more into more of the pop songs, but I can't get my voice to work because I'm so locked into this operatic sound that they need help to do it. So I don't think it's quite accurate, and probably not the other way either. Okay, so thanks everybody. Love you all. I'm Chuck Gilmore with Power to Sing live, number 106, and I hope this has been helpful. Remember, you can sing higher with beauty, confidence, and power. So I'll see you inside the next video.